Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be reading some tweets and commenting on recent updates for Russia and China and how they are handling things in the world right now. And so China is showing very strong support for the Islamic world. The Chinese side supports Islamic countries to strengthen unity and coordination on Palestine issue and speak with one voice, and the international community should take actions to oppose any party's actions that harm civilians, said China's top diplomat Wang Yi in a phone call with Iranian Foreign Minister Hussein Amirabdollahian on whatever his name is on Sunday. And so this is from the Global Times. And so this tells us that China really does want the Islamic world, Islamic civilization, to be on its side for what is increasingly shaping up to be World War III. So interesting times. And I'm surprised that they were actually so successful diplomatically to actually pull this off, because I really do not think they would get the Sunni side on board. There's so many factors that would lead the Sunnis to be on the side of the West. In the short term, I do think Saudi Arabia gained from being a part of the West with the petrodollar. In the long term, I do think being a part of the multipolar bloc actually benefits them more. But then you have Turkey, a NATO member, has been very pro-Western, wanted to join the EU. You have Egypt. The military really controls that country to a large extent, and they're hostile towards the Muslim Brotherhood, which is like a kind of brother faction to Hamas and things like that. So really a lot of countries that should have been on the side of the West here are actually on China's side. And so China has been very successful diplomatically to actually pull this off. So let's look at what Alexander Dugin has to say on this issue as well, talking about Russia in the upcoming years. So Russia and China, I've been talking about these two powers for at least a decade. I've been very excited to see them work more closely together because I do think it's going to be super important. And Alexander Dugin here is a major intellectual thinker within Russia. I don't think he has overly much sway over what the government does, but I think people do listen to him because his ideas have been, I would say, pretty prophetic about what the future is going to be like. So let's look at, and I've also talked about this issue he's about to go over. So let's look at it. Next year, Russia will be the honorary leader of BRICS 11, which they need a new name for that organization. They need something really catchy because you can't just use the first letter of every country's name anymore. This presents a unique challenge and opportunity. For 1 year, Russia becomes the leader of the Exarchy, an increasingly emerging system of the multipolar club. So I think this is going to be a really important year too. So it's not just a matter of they're getting more members, but also BRICS is in Russia at the head of BRICS for this year. Or for, 2024, that is likely going to be the year that Russia wins its war with Ukraine, which means it's winning its war with the West as a whole, because West is supporting, training, equipping, having volunteers go over there and fight for Ukraine. We're also seeing that Russia is winning diplomatically in the Middle East against, in the Judeo-Islamic War of 2023. And there's just a variety of factors that make next year really pivotal, and having Russia in charge for that year is going to put them in a really good spot. And so I say this all the time too, which is that I actually think Russia is more central to the multipolar bloc than China, just given that Russia has more historical relations with various multipolar bloc countries, given its being a descendant of the Soviet Union. China has a few countries that it really just can't get along with no matter what it really does at this point, which is places like India. They're trying to make amends as much as they can, but there are just some barriers that really shouldn't be as big of barriers as they are, but they do exist. And then places like Japan, because of prior military conflicts with Japan that make them very hostile, the Taiwan situation. And so Russia just doesn't have as many of those problems with various countries that should be a part of the multipolar bloc. Non-Western countries, Japan is really honorary Western at this point just because of what happened with World War II and the aftermath of that war. I'm already thinking about the next war, World War. Anyways, the Exarchy, the top six, comprises 6 civilizations with the exception of the 7th, Western, which continues to insist that there is only one civilization, global, liberal, Western, i.e. itself. Within a year, Russia has the opportunity to consolidate its exarchy, and this will require the creation of 5 inter-civilizational axes: Russia, China, Russia, India, Russia, Islamic world, Russia, Africa, Russia, Latin America. All these civilizations are represented in the BRICS by key countries or groups of countries. Each axis is a complex geopolitical, cultural, economic, resource, technological, environmental block. We have to work on this now. There are developments in each direction, but they have not yet been put together into a system. The important thing is to not turn it into ordinary diplomatic protocols, random sporadic events, and bureaucratic routine, as alas, it usually turns out. We cannot miss this opportunity by acting as late as ever. That would be a pity. Okay, so we're already seeing that not only are there increasing diplomatic ties between these various civilization states, but we're also seeing that there are various wars occurring between these 6 civilization states and the 7th one, the Western one. So we have the Ukraine war, which is the Western Empire versus the Russian civilization. We see the China potential conflict flare up over Taiwan. So the Chinese civilization versus the Western civilization. We see the Islamic civilization really wanting to pick a fight with the Western civilization again over the Holy Land in Palestine and Israel. We see the coups in Africa, so the African civilization fighting against the Western civilization, overthrowing pro-Western civilization governments. There are potentials for flare-ups in the Latin American civilization where there are a lot of drug wars, a lot of hostilities because of immigration patterns, things like that in places like Mexico. And so you're really seeing all across the world various things that are not beneficial for the United States. The United States is losing, the Western civilization is losing in a lot of cases, but it is showing the flashpoint. It is showing that things are occurring, problems are occurring where there are not only interconnections between these various civilization states that are non-Western, but they're also, these non-Western civilizations are coming into conflict with the West. So interesting times we live in. And as I've talked about, I do think that this is a pivotal time for Russia. And really, they couldn't have planned it better about, I don't know specifics about how they choose who's in charge of BRICS at any one time. It's obviously some type of rotating basis, but 2024 is shaping up to be the year where things really happen, which you would think after everything else that's happened this current decade that things would just kind of quiet down a little bit with the war coming back to Europe and with coups happening and with tensions over Taiwan and with the Middle East crisis that's happening and with the COVID pandemic and with the declining of Western world. You'd think things would just kind of calm down a little bit, but no, it's actually shaping up that 2024 is going to be a really pivotal year. And I feel like I say this all the time, but if you are in the West and you have the opportunity to leave, this is the time to leave because things are getting really bad there. So anyways, thank you for watching. Please give us a thumbs up on YouTube and Rumble. It helps us in the algorithm. Please subscribe to both our channels on YouTube and Rumble for more content. And leave us a comment, question, concern, critique in the comment box below. We love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.